go to the next question of our wonderful Turning Point USA partners and supporters here.
Hi there, Charlie. My name is Daniella. I am a proud pro-American, pro-Israel Jewish American, and it is not lost on me and many of us how you are truly on the front lines supporting Jews and Christians for our Judeo-Christian values, for Israel. We thank you every single day.
Thank you.
My question is, we see how powerful TikTok has become and how you have used that platform. Unfortunately, myself and many other pro-America, pro-Israel creators continue to get censored and banned. Where do we stand on the TikTok negotiations with the Trump administration and its ability to have better freedom of speech for its citizens?
Yeah, thank you for that. And so we were banned multiple times, right, before we...
12?
Yeah, 12 times. And again, this is all very well reported. And I reached out to TikTok after they got banned by Congress. And I said, hey, you guys say you're this free speech platform. Let us speak and not be banned. And so, to their credit, we've gone super viral and billions of views. Right now, I'm not sure what the status is. I think a lot of it is in limbo because of the China tariff situation. I will say, and I know this is not your perspective, and I think Israel needs to get much better at the PR war. I think it's terrible with public relations, to be honest. There's a lot of truths about what's happening in that region that a lot of people do not understand. And I think some of the Israel PR is very cringe at times, to use kind of a Gen Z term. There is a belief system out there of some pro-Israel forces like, oh, TikTok's a waste of time, let's not do that. I reject that premise, and I know you probably agree with that. We need to engage in those public spaces. If I can help you, get unbanned or uncensored, I'd be happy to help with that. But here's the major, one of the more fundamental issues when it comes with the fight and the debate for Israel is that it's very hard for those of us that are not Jewish to make the contention when most Jews do not care about Israel that much. When I actually have to debate Jews on Israel on campus. It's very hard, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm a Christian that cares about Israel, but I care about America obviously most. But Jews on campus are telling me that I shouldn't care about Israel and that, Israel's a terrible apartheid state. I'm sure you know the Jews of which I speak.
For sure.
Right.
I know them well.
And they exist. And I don't think they're a majority, honestly, but I think that some of them are waking up post-October 7th. Yeah. But let's also be honest, 2/3 of American Jews are very liberal, right? And one of the, and I'll throw to Andrew, I know Andrew has a thought on this, but just one other element and contextualization on this that I want to make sure I add. What's very frustrating is that anti-Israel belief system is an outgrowth of a left-wing worldview, because you think of everything through oppressor, oppressed, and they look at Israel as prosperous and their neighbors not so prosperous, and so they look at it through that lens. Unfortunately, Jewish Americans have financed their own demise. Jewish Americans have financed these left-wing organizations and colleges that have led to the rise of anti-Israel sentiment. So it's very, very frustrating. Andrew, do you have a thought here?
Yeah, I just want to make one other point, and that's we have to avoid the temptation of clamping down on free speech or trying to censor or using left-wing tactics. There was Ambassador Friedman who said that, maybe we need to deport and jail people that were anti-Semitic. Those types of policies or that approach to dealing with the anti-Semitism problem will only create more anti-Semitism.
And it does create more.
I think there is a distinction between anti-Semitic remarks and inciting violence, and that was the distinction.
Yeah, the problem is a lot of these people were not inciting violence. They were writing op-eds, right? And that's the issue, is that a lot of people were being deported because they wrote an op-ed critical of a foreign country. Now, I don't think, hilariously, if they're critical of America, I think they should be deported. But
hand in hand.
No, yeah, but again, so I don't think they should be here in the first place. But what happens then is our own Turning Point USA students say, wait, why are we deporting people for being critical of a foreign country? And then it plays into this idea that Israel is basically controlling foreign policy.
That's not the case. And
yeah, well,
amplifies.
Well, then again, so it creates this narrative, and then all of a sudden, again, I will say this, that from our own rank and file at Turning Point, and I've said this publicly, I'll say it again, they are not as pro-Israel as people would say, because no one's making good arguments in favor of Israel, honestly. Some of the arguments are like, well, if you don't support Israel, you're anti-Semitic. Again, that doesn't really resonate.
That's counterproductive.
You know what I'm saying? And like, for example, Douglas Murray, who I have a lot of respect for, went on Joe Rogan and made a complete fool of himself. Right? And thank you for agreeing with that. Yeah. And he made some good arguments at times, but he started that podcast by shaming Joe Rogan, who's the most popular podcaster on the planet, for having voices that he didn't like, and basically got no pleasantries in the podcast. Hey Joe, good to see you. Yeah. Write him how dare you have And like that makes it seem as if the pro-Israel world is like can't defend its position. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I just, with people like Joe Rogan, if he could have a survivor of a hostage situation, if he could have someone who served in the IDF, just to bring more balance and nuance to the conversation, everyone would benefit.
No, I agree. And the fact, I mean, that's a fair point. My biggest concern is that Israel is losing support with conservatives for a vast hysterical overreaction against speech, and I see it happening every single day. Right, Andrew? I mean, it's losing support, and Israel's PR is probably the worst I've ever seen of any modern country. It's humiliatingly bad.
I don't disagree. We have the cherry tomato, we have drip irrigation, we don't have good PR.
We got it. Well said. God bless you, and God bless Israel. Thank you. We'll be right back.